Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Ms. Debbie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hennigan? Here. Ms. Hines?
Here.
Mr. Derman?
Here.
Mr. Luke?
Here.
Mr. Harrell?
Here.
Mr. Nation?
Here.
Mr. Jeter?
Here.
Mrs. Seeley?
Present.
Ms. Drucker? Mr. Bettencourt?
Here.
Mr. Womack?
Here.
Mr. Hersey? Ms. Mullet? And Mr. Kuzan?
Here.
And Ms. Belisario.
Thank you very much. Would you please rise and join us in the invocation and pledge led by Mr. Jeter?
Let's bow our heads. Gracious Lord, our Father in heaven, we want to thank you for another day. Thank you for all of your blessing. Continue to allow us to work together in peace and harmony. Give us the knowledge, the wisdom, the skills, and the vision, dear Lord, to make decisions that are in the best interest of our community, our school system, and most importantly, all of our students. The blessings that we ask for, the prayers that we say, are in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeter. We want to welcome you to our August 2nd meeting. We know that our administrators are in their schools and they're busy, and central office has been buzzing for several weeks now, and we're looking forward to a successful beginning of school very soon. So the first item tonight is recognition of visitors. Do we have anyone who would like to recognize a visitor? Mr. Bettencourt?
Thank you, Mrs. Hines. This isn't so much to recognize a visitor. I want to take a minute and tell y'all something. I went to the Kiwanis Club meeting this morning that our superintendent presented a presentation on, our school system with the theme this year being We Will. He was very well received. And Mr. Foles doesn't take a lot of the credit. He spoke highly of the central office people that get all this stuff done every day. He spoke really highly of our administrators and all of our schools. He passes all the accolades around to all the other employees and stuff, but he did such a great job of representing our system, and the public relations that he does when he goes to all of these different organizations is just immeasurable. And I just want to commend him. I was so proud sitting there. And I don't know how he keeps the schedule that he does, but he's just constantly PRing us to where people, are really more and more on our side. And it's just, I just want to thank you for what you do. Don't stop. Thank you.
Well said, Mr. Bettencourt.
Thank you very much.
Very, very nice. All right, and our next item is person requesting time on the agenda, and we have one person signed up, and that is for 5 minutes, Ms. Barrios.
Mr. Foles, Ms. Hines, school board members, my name hasn't changed. Again, my name is Lee Barrios. I'm a retired teacher who's now running for a seat on the school board representing District 5. You all know me as a longtime advocate for quality public education and my outspoken opposition to many of the mandated policies handed down by both the state and federal departments of education. Some of those mandates are our new Common Core state standards, the new math curriculum, a state assessment program that is rendered invalid and unreliable because of its high-stakes application, the results of which are used inappropriately to evaluate teachers, assess student learning, and grade schools and district performance with scores which are calculated using obtuse and unfair mathematical formula. Now I'm deeply concerned because St. Tammany has, without public knowledge or school board oversight, signed on with several other districts to pilot yet another new testing scheme that will require another new language arts combined with history curriculum. It is reported that the assessment will be rolled out in about 5 years and add to the millions spent annually for testing. Where the curriculum will come from, however, is a big question mark. Of greater concern, though, is what the state superintendent describes as a new, quote, innovative assessment that combines ELA with history into one test. In his sales pitch, Superintendent White says, quote, the present testing practices don't effectively measure a student's knowledge and comprehension, close quote. Tell that to the teachers who've been falsely evaluated using them, the students who've received failing grades with them, and the schools and districts whose performance scores have fluctuated yearly and make no sense anymore when one is compared to the other. Time doesn't allow a detailed lesson on reading comprehension here, so I will more concisely explain that Superintendent White's plan requires a standardized curriculum, probably scripted, that combines the two subjects, utilizes texts related to social studies rather than a much broader selection of literature, with interim assessments given throughout the year and at the end of the year. White explains that students will then be prepared because, quote, they will know the content of the test. We will be replacing a curriculum and test that should require the use of critical thinking skills and analysis with one that tests rote memorization and recall. Real learning requires having a broad selection of curriculum resources that, when properly taught by properly trained teachers, will result in a student being able to fully comprehend what he is reading regardless of the specific passages used, not just to memorize it for a recall on a test. Years of research reveals what properly trained teachers know, that in order to assure validity, a reading comprehension assessment must include short excerpts of unfamiliar text across multiple genres. I'm suggesting that this pilot agreement be reconsidered, that the teachers who will be expected to teach it and be evaluated by it have an opportunity to discuss it thoroughly before it is handed to them as a mandate. Most importantly, I suggest that the public be made aware of the details of this pilot and other important curriculum decisions so that they can have an opportunity to offer informed public input and questions. This assessment is designed by Superintendent White to raise test scores, so it will appear that he knows what he's talking about. White's reforms are failing our students in our schools, and I hope St. Tammany does what it used to do by stepping out of the box and promoting good teaching and quality curriculum in spite of what the state suggests. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. You know, before the meeting, I had a brief conversation with Dr. Sanford about this program, and I know it's not on the agenda, but I am going to ask Dr. Sanford just to make a comment. I'm not going to open it up on the agenda. We're not going to take any questions. Anyone who has any questions afterwards can ask Dr. Sanford at another time. But would you please share just a few comments, Dr. Sanford?
Yes, Ms. Hines. St. Tammany has signed on to assist the state with this pilot. And as Ms. Barrios pointed out, the timeline for implementation is 5 years. But to date, we have not been at the table for any meetings because they have not been held at this point. But our hope is that with a district the size of St. Tammany, that we can be partners at the table because testing impacts a large district in a variety of ways. We feel that it's important to have a voice in any consideration that they have with implementation and development of assessments as a valued benefit to our teachers as well as our students. We're hopeful for more flexibility with testings, and we're anxious to assist the state in any way to develop what we want to be a workable plan for both our students and our teachers. So our commitment right now is in the initial stages.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanford. I appreciate that. And as I say, if anyone has any other questions, they can speak with Dr. Sanford following the meeting or in her office. I'm going to jump back just a minute. I failed to recognize that Mr. Womack would like to recognize someone, so I'm going to do that before we call for approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Hines, for doing that, being willing to. I just wanted to recognize Ms. Green and her entourage here. We're happy to have them. It's good to see you tonight, all three of you. Yes.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to our next item, which is the approval of the minutes from the committee as a whole meeting held on July 12th, 2018. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes? I have a motion by Mr. Kuzan. I'll have a second by Mr. Betancourt. Are there any Comments from board members on the minutes? Any comments from the public? If not, we'll vote, please.
Mr. Terman.
Mr. Terman.
Okay.
There we
you
go.
just gotta- We'll close, and I'll save it.
All right, the minutes pass 13-0. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next item, which is in the instruction portion. And we have a report on the Summer Institute. Ms. Myers, there you are.
Okay, good evening, Superintendent Foles and board members. Tonight, I'm pleased to share with you information about an exciting professional development opportunity that was provided to our district's teachers and school administrators in June. This year was our second annual Summer Institute designed to provide our teachers and school administrators training in areas that will support them in providing the highest quality education and support services to our students during the school year. This year's theme for Summer Institute was Jazz It Up, Excellence in Education, a St. Tammany Tradition. This year's Summer Institute was held at Lakeshore High School on June 12th and 13th. The school was transformed into an exciting, jazz-inspired place that was welcoming to all of the participants. Summer Institute was attended by over 1,100 educators, including 960 teachers and school administrators, along with 154 different presenters. Our presenters included our very own St. Tammany teachers, school administrators, supervisors, curriculum specialists, instructional coaches, and interventionists. 217 sessions were offered for our participants to choose from. The sessions covered a variety of topics, including administrative, assessment, early childhood, English learners, English language arts, math, science, social studies, electives, social emotional, special education, technology, and general topics in education. Ideas for the sessions for Summer Institute were gathered through a teacher interest inventory that was conducted back in February, as well as through information gained from our school administrators and district leaders. Teachers and school administrators were able to choose up to 3 1.5-hour sessions to attend each day of Summer Institute. Participants were able to pre-register through our district's Go Sign Me Up website beforehand. Also new this year was the use of the Attendify app, which allowed the participants to search for courses, obtain information about Summer Institute, and also provided them the opportunity to interact with others who attended, sharing comments and pictures. Summer Institute received tremendous support from our school system in order for it to be the successful experience for all who attended. Special thanks go out to several departments, including Fontainebleau High's graphic arts students, who designed our Summer Institute logo, printed t-shirts for all the presenters and helpers, and they created the welcome banner that greeted all participants as they arrived. Lakeshore High was kind enough to allow us to use their beautiful facility for the second year in a row for Summer Institute. They were so supportive, allowing us to transform their facility into an exciting, jazzy New Orleans venue. The talented arts students from Lakeshore High also created a beautiful backdrop for our photo booth, in which our teachers and administrators posed for fun pictures during the 2-day event. Slidell High's theater department created French market-themed backdrops and signs in the main hallway. Our district's maintenance department was extremely helpful, providing us with all the tables, chairs, ice chests, you name it. They helped us get it. And they even helped us build special street signs, decorations, showing our participants where to go throughout the event. Our IT department assisted with the setup and support of all the technology used in the sessions. Along with school system support, we had tremendous community support. We had 4 different food trucks that were at the site each day, providing our participants a variety of options to purchase delicious lunches. Community vendors were in attendance, providing opportunity for participants to learn about their products and services that are available in our community. Many local businesses donated door prizes to be given to participants to show their support of our educators and all the hard work that they do each and every day for our students and families. And finally, we were thrilled to have the Marine Corps Band from New Orleans, who provided entertainment during Tuesday's lunch at Summer Institute. We even had educators second lining around Lakeshore High's cafeteria with umbrellas and napkins in hand as the band played on. Participants responded to an online questionnaire giving feedback about their Summer Institute experience. 97.4% of the respondents indicated that Summer Institute had a profound impact on their knowledge. Feedback results are used to help plan for next year's event. When asked about how our educators would take their knowledge that they learned and implement it in their schools and classrooms, some of the responses included, "I will share the knowledge that I learned with colleagues and work collaboratively with them to decide how to implement that knowledge for the benefit of my students." Another comment, "Every session gave me wonderful ideas that are already guiding my planning for next year." Yet another response, "As an administrator, the information and knowledge I gained will help me be a better instructional leader on my campus and guide our teachers more clearly." And one last comment said, "The courses I attended will impact my teaching, which will affect student learning, providing positive outcomes. Summer Institute helps me to become a better teacher for myself as well as my students. The variety of courses allowed me to experience different topics throughout the 2 days." Now I'd like to share a video that Channel 13 created to capture the excitement and impact our Summer Institute had on all who attended.
During our Summer Institute, we have over 200 professional development courses for both teachers and administrators in order to deepen their professional knowledge.
Our educators have to be professional learners. They're here engaging in their content and learning new ideas, techniques, and skills.
Offering sessions that are specific to administrators really helps us collaborate together and find strengths and weaknesses among each other and solutions for those.
I think it's very important for you to constantly be adjusting your classes. Every year's a different year.
For our Summer Institute app that is new this year, that allows all of our participants to see the courses that are being offered to them.
Right away when I walked in, I noticed that this just isn't a traditional seminar in the summer. It was decorated, never seen that before. They had food trucks, what a great idea. And it puts you in a better mood. It's not just another day where you're grinding it out in your summer and you'd rather be doing something else.
You know, our teachers and administrators work very hard during the school year, and so we just want to provide this fun learning environment, just like we would want our fun learning environment for our students. So just to show them that they are appreciated and just having fun during the summer while they're learning.
And that concludes our presentation on Summer Institute.
It looks wonderful, Ms. Meyer. Let's see if we have any questions from board members. Ms. Smollett?
Thank you, Mrs. Heinz. Well, I want to say congratulations. I have heard some feedback, all positive, I might add. 200 courses for a professional development. I don't know where I heard someone said we weren't doing anything for professional development. Well, we are. I hope they get the correct information. Dr. Sanford, about how many hours do you have an estimate each year of how many hours and how many professionals we actually touch with all of our different professional development opportunities?
We do gather data, but it doesn't capture everything that the schools do on top of what we offer within the district. We can get you the exact numbers once we download the spreadsheet from this past year.
Perfect. Look forward to it. Thank you. It was great. At least that's what I heard.
Thank you, Ms. Smollett. And does anyone else have a question about Summer Institute? All right, thank you. Appreciate that report. Now we'll move on to new teacher induction. Ms. Dangerfield.
Hello,
Good evening.
Superintendent Foss, Ms. Heights, board members. It gives me great pleasure to share information with you about our 2018 New Teacher Induction Program. Our theme this year for New Teacher Induction was Splash into Learning. And I can tell you we did a lot of splashing this year at New Teacher Induction. We began New Teacher Induction and we began our journey with a couple of objectives. Our objectives were threefold. Number one, we wanted to provide an overview of the district and to set expectations. We did this a lot with our day one session. Our second focus was to lay the foundation in various areas necessary for district success. We're talking about district success combined with classroom success. And this was done throughout all of the days of new teacher induction. And number three, provide an opportunity to network. Networking is such a big thing in the district. We wanted to come and lay a foundation and set expectations. However, we wanted our new teachers to come into our district and to make some teacher friends. We wanted them to have someone to plan with, to collaborate with, or basically to pick up the phone, or shall I say to text or IM, whenever they have a question or needed some assistance or help, they would have a buddy teacher right there to assist. Well, we had lots of new faces at New Teacher Induction. On day one, we had about 251 participants, and we also included all of our teacher residents that we have planned for this school year. We have 15 new teacher residents who will be joining us, so we had 14 out of the 15 in attendance. On day two, we had 252 participants, and you can see the breakdown here by grade level of those who participated. And once again, we had our 14 student teacher residents to join us. On day four, which was SPED Day, which included SPED, gifted, as well as our talented teachers, and those student teachers who are receiving their certification in SPED, they joined us as well. We had 64. And then on day four, which was just for SPED, which did not include our gifted and talented population, we had 52 who were in attendance. So we were busy for all 4 days of new teacher induction. Let's take a look at the agenda and see what the agenda was like for new teacher induction. On day one, we splashed a little bit into the district overview, professional expectations, best practices, and programs of essential instruction. Day one was really about learning about the district. It was learning about St. Tammany as a whole. Day two, we splashed into the curriculum. The teachers went to several different sites on day two, and they spent the day with seasoned professionals, including our curriculum specialists, learning about their grade level and or their content area. Day three and day four, as you can see, was spent learning additional knowledge in the area in the area of special education. And then day 5 was a variety. This is where we require all schools to have their individual site-based orientation to review those things that are specific to their individual schools that will help new teachers get a foundation for their individual schools. So we started giving them a foundation for the district, we moved into their individual areas, and then into their individual schools. We started day 1 with a couple of our students joining us. We started our day with 4 of our students leading us in our invocation, followed by our pledge, our national anthem, and then one who was a part of the Superintendent's Advisory Council who introduced our superintendent. Our superintendent opened up the day giving highlights. And what he did is he gave information from our 2017-18 school year. And I'm so excited because right before I came, I got the evaluation results from new teacher induction, and they were really positive. We got feedback from day 1 about information that you learned that you didn't know about the district, or information that you learned that you can use as you move forward. And the information that they learned from Mr. Fose's presentation, as well as Meredith Mendez's presentation, it was just, absolutely wonderful. You can tell that they were engaged, and you can tell that they were really paying attention to what they were saying based on the specifics from the PowerPoints that they were giving. So I told Ms. Mendez, I didn't tell the superintendent yet, but they can go ahead and put this on their calendars for next year based on the feedback that we received. But it was a lot of very informative information, and we feel that the teachers, based on this information, they are really equipped in knowing some really good information about our school system that they can help take out into the community and share St. Tammany's story. That was the morning. In the afternoon, we changed our new teacher induction program this year to be a little different. We wanted to make sure that we were doing something to meet the individual needs of our new teachers, whether you were coming from out of state, whether you were coming from another school system, whether you were coming straight from college, whether you were coming from an online program. So in the afternoon of day 1, new teachers were afforded the opportunity to select 3 professional development workshops to attend based on their need. They attended 3 40-minute sessions. They rotated with travel time in between. The feedback that we received from their attendance at these workshops, it was excellent as well. I'm just excited and amazed from the feedback that we are going to be able to use to continue their professional development throughout the year. So this was a way for us to differentiate, to meet their individual needs in a way as a district we were modeling what we expect for our teachers to do in the classroom. Day 2, curriculum day. This is the day where they are divided up based on their content area and our grade level. You can see our individual host locations here for day 2. They were divided. They spent time with curriculum specialists or either a seasoned teacher at one of these schools, learning about the specifics of their curriculum and what they would be doing in their classroom. So we're grateful for these administrators and these teachers coming into their schools early, preparing their classrooms, and welcoming the new teachers with the information that was shared during this time. And then what will we do without our SPED department? Our SPED department prepared information for 2 days dealing with NCI training, looking at IEPs, whether it's with our resource students, gifted students. So there was a wealth of information that was shared on day 3 and day 4 as well. Now, you've heard what I had to say about new teacher induction, but I have Sydney Bowen, who is here to share her experiences. You may remember her from last year. She is a graduate of Southeastern. She came before the board last year as a teacher resident. She did her teacher residency at Lancaster. I am happy to say she is now a St. Tammany Parish teacher at Woodlake Elementary, and she's going to share her experiences with you participating in new teacher induction.
Hi, thank you all for having me here. It's really a true honor. I am a graduate of St. Tammany Parish, graduate from Slidell High, and it's really been the goal of becoming a teacher here. So I'm very honored to be here with you all. So I have actually a pretty unique opportunity to share with y'all. Being that I was a teacher resident last year, I was actually able to attend the new teacher induction twice. So I went the year before as a teacher resident, and it really was a very warm welcome into the parish. I was able to hear from Mr. Foles along with some other leaders in the district and attend those rotation classes that everybody attended. And then on the second day, being able to hear from a grade level representative at Brock Elementary and hear about the things that I would be doing as part of the residency program that year. And this year I was able to see the differences. So like Ms. Dangerfield said, they changed it up a little bit because of the feedback given. So instead of having rotations on the first day, we were actually able to go sign me up and pick classes that were specific needs for us all, which I truly appreciated, being that I went to the new teacher induction the year before. So I was able to really pinpoint some areas that I thought I could learn more about and grow in. So I truly appreciated that. And I felt for a lot of my friends that I've also got hired on that the new teacher induction was a very warm welcome into the parish, especially after going through job fair, which can be a pretty intimidating and scary process for a lot of us, seeing the vast numbers of people that want to be in our parish. So after going through that experience, having the warm welcome of the new teacher induction was great, and hearing the ways that our parish touches the community from Mr. Foles and hearing about the different fundraisers. And one thing that I particularly enjoyed, actually the last 2 years from Mr. Foles, was being able to hear the year in review PowerPoint that he had. And this year that I was able to go, I actually felt like I was part of that because I was able to participate in the fundraisers and whatnot as part of the residency program. So I definitely gained a lot of knowledge going to the new teacher induction. I was able to meet new teachers all across the parish that were in high schools. My mom's a teacher at Fontainebleau, so I met some teachers that she'd be working at. Other second grade teachers that are in the same boat as me because I'm a new second grade teacher at Woodlake, and then other teachers that were at my school as well, and being able to collaborate with them and get phone numbers and be able to start talking with them. So it was a really great experience in that as well, being able to meet some new friends and new faces that are going through the same situation. So overall, a very positive experience. And being able to hear about our district's accomplishments gave me great pride because I felt like I was a part of that, and it got me excited to do it and this year coming up. Thank you.
So you can see our superintendent is a hot commodity. Okay, and then our site-based orientation held at our individual schools. We know that our schools are individual, but there were some common threads that we wanted to make sure that were covered in all of our schools. So the list that you see here are items that all of our schools are required to include as a part of their site-based orientation, just making sure that all of our teachers had this necessary information to build upon from their individual schools. And the support does not stop with new teacher induction. All of the information, the PowerPoints, presentations, handouts, is added to the new teacher cohort. New teacher cohort is a site for all of our new teachers. The new teachers remain in the new teacher cohort for 2 years. They go there, Not only do we have information there from new teacher induction, but there are other resources there that we have for our new teachers. And then that is where we communicate about Boost. And Boost is building our own superior teachers. And that is where we will communicate with them about the ongoing professional development that we will have designed specifically for new teachers. And we will use the feedback from new teacher induction to help design those professional development opportunities. And this program could not have been a success without the support of several people, several groups, beginning with Mr. Foss, our superintendent, for his guidance and his support, as well as his leadership team, to you, the board, for allowing us to do this. We have gotten such great feedback this year, so thank you so much. Stacy McGee, who was new to the position of professional development coordinator, she came on board like July 1, I think, and this was July 9th. We were up many a nights, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, emailing each other, you go to bed, no, you go to bed. But she was faithful in making sure that this was the best for our teachers, so I am really thankful to her for her leadership. To the committee members, the presenters, and our program participants who helped make this a success. Because we did it differently this year, we needed a lot more help, a lot more assistance in doing what we did for the teachers, but everybody pitched in to help. This truly took a team effort. We definitely want to thank the St. Tammany Federal Credit Union. They provided the breakfast and some door prizes for our teachers. The St. Tammany Federation of Teachers, they provided lunch and they provided some door prizes for our teachers. And then our St. Tammany retired school employees, they provided dessert for our teachers for new teacher induction. So those were also people who helped to participate. And I definitely cannot forget our in-house people. To Mr. Jabbia and the HR department, Amy and I were kind of connected at the hip there for a little while with getting the people, the right people for new teacher induction. Mr. Kosei and the admin department. When I tell you we have an excellent maintenance department, you know, sometimes the work that they do does not get recognized, but I am here to tell you they worked hard helping us get set up for new teacher induction, because we just didn't have one place to set up. We had multiple places to set up, and they were there smiling, nodding, saying, yes, ma'am, Ms. Dangerfield. I don't know if that was good or bad, but they did whatever, you know, was asked of them. Ms. Prevost and her department, they kept me out of orange, what I could and could not do, so I'm very thankful to them. Dr. Menard and her department, I am so grateful for them. Ms. Mendez and her department, I cannot tell you enough of what they do to help us with branding and just getting everything on the right track. So I am very grateful for that. And last but definitely not least, the curriculum team. I cannot say enough about our curriculum specialists, our instructional coaches, and the wonderful ladies that I get to work with each and every day. We did a lot of changing this year with new teacher induction, and I think our change paid off from the feedback we got on the evaluations. So kudos to Dr. Sanford and the ladies in the CNI department for working in their patience with me. And to conclude, we do have a video representing the fun that happened at new teacher induction.
I'm super excited. I've lived in St. Tammany for the past few years, and I do know it's a tough parish to get into, so I'm definitely very honored to be working here. Mr. Folse's presentation this morning was really great, and I feel like I learned a lot about how the parish interacts with the community and with the special ed, and how Mr. Folse goes into the classrooms, and I really enjoyed it.
it's good to learn all the people that work behind the scenes and that are in charge of certain things. So if I have questions, I can learn who I need to go to answer those questions.
We focus on every child every day, but new teacher induction is about every teacher every day. We want to make sure that everyone, no matter where you come from, if you're a new teacher, if you're an experienced teacher but new to St. Tammany, that we have something here to meet your needs.
I really liked being able to choose the sessions this afternoon and being able to really pick something that was geared towards what I'm doing, and I got a lot of good experience and information out of it. I'm definitely excited for the next school year, and this has definitely helped me feel more prepared and get me excited and ready to go for the school.
And in closing, I forgot to mention the IT department. I could not have done this. They had to set computers up at so many schools. And then to the other Mr. Jabbia, Frank Jabbia at North Shore, that's where we hosted almost 300 teachers on the first day. His team was awesome. So thank you to him. And again, new teacher induction was a success, and it's about every teacher every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dangerfield. We really appreciate your report. You know, I believe the new teacher induction program is one of our programs that make St. Tammany stand out. I feel that our teachers, when they go through this program, they have a head start before they get in the classroom. They know that they're going to be supported, and they just have a feel for our system before they even begin their first day of teaching. So I really appreciate that. Let's see what other questions board members have. Mr. Nation.
Thank you, Mrs. Heinz, and thank you, Adorable, for all you did that day. And yes, I agree, you don't look good in orange, so.
Thank you.
Well, from another perspective, one of the new teachers that was there that day is a 25-year veteran, I think, of special education, and been in the special education classroom. And I got a earful from this particular new teacher who transferred into St. Tammany Parish this year. That's my wife, and she said, you know, Trey, Mr. Foltz, we're not going to be able to get him out of this room tonight because his head's going to get so big. I mean, Mr. Bedcar started, but my wife Cheryl, who's at Magnolia Trace this year, came home and said, you know, Trey was, I think the word she used, and I quote, inspiring. She's never said that about me, Trey. So, so good thing I'm not a jealous man. You know? But no, you did a great job, and I certainly appreciated being able to be there for lunch and for that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was definitely a team effort.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? Ms. Trinigan?
Yes, thank you. And Dorable, I'll second the comment that this is a very impactful program for the district, and I think it's great. It seems to get better every year, too. It's more organized, and that's wonderful to see. One of the things that jumped out at me was the number of mental health providers that were considered new teachers. I think you had 44 on that slide.
Yes.
And I think that's 80%, huh? We've almost doubled the size of our mental health providers. Is that?
Remember, Mr. Hennigan,
Yeah,
we put the funds in the budget this year to have mental health providers at every school as part of our school safety and security.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I wasn't sure we could hire that many in that short of time.
I think you'll give an update on that as well.
Was that professional group carved out and go through special training for themselves?
Yes, what happened on day one, we worked with their coordinator, and we specifically selected workshops that we felt would be beneficial to them in their job responsibilities. So they were guided as to what workshops for their particular responsibilities. And then on day two, they had a special session just for them.
Okay.
So yes, it was specialized just for them.
Very good. All right, well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Betancourt?
Thank you, Mrs. Hines. Mrs. Dangerfield, are these new teachers, are they eligible to go to that summer institute, or they haven't been hired yet?
They hadn't been hired yet. Summer Institute was June 12th?
12th.
12th and 13th. New teacher induction was second week of July.
Okay, but they haven't been notified before that time?
No, it's a continuous process. No.
All right, thank you.
They would be eligible next year to go to
Correct.
that, yes.
Ms. Sealy?
Thank you, Ms. Hines. I have to say that it's wonderful to see the teamwork at its best here.
Yes.
And that I was impressed to hear you report on the new teacher cohort.
Yes.
And that the new teachers remain with us for 2 years.
Yes.
That is certainly a plus, and also the boost. And I appreciate your report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I just wanted to say, Sydney, that we appreciate you coming up. That was one of my questions, were the teacher residents, did they go? I knew that you participated last year, but then I'm glad to hear that you got the opportunity to participate again this year, and I'm sure you felt like the days were well spent. And so I'm so pleased you got to be there, and good luck to you as you begin this school year. Mr. Foster?
No, I was just gonna say, I know Regina would say it, but she's coughing over there, so I'll say it for her. Dorable and both Terry and Dorable did a great job spearheading these. I know everybody worked together, but you have to have someone in charge. In both these cases, Dorable and Terry did a great job with that. The new teacher orientation is just so uplifting when you go through that and you see all the excitement of the new teachers. It just peels off on you and everyone else that's there, And one of my favorite sayings, everyone's heard me say so many times, is you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. Yes. And with this program, we make a good first impression for these teachers. It's the first look at our school system, and it's something that they will remember for the rest of their career. And so I certainly thank everyone for their efforts, and it's time very well spent that will have a lasting impact on instruction in the classroom, and that's what we're all about. So thank you all both, and thank you everyone for their work on this.
Thank you very much for the report this evening, Ms. Dangerfield. All right, there's no further business to come before this meeting. We will adjourn, and we'll gather again in 5 minutes for business affairs and administration. Thank you.
Welcome to our August 2nd Business Affairs Administrative Committee meeting, and we'll call the roll. Thank you.
Mr. Hannigan? Here. Ms. Hines? Here. Mr. Derman?
Here.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Here.
Mr. Nation?
Here.
Mr. Jeter?
Here.
Mrs. Sealy?
Present.
Mrs. Drucker? Mr. Bettencourt?
Here.
Mr. Womack?
Here.
Mr. Hersey? Mrs. Mullet? Present. Mr. Kuzan?
Here.
And Mrs. Belisarius? Here.
All right, thank you. The invocation and pledge were said at the previous committee meeting, so they'll be dispensed with here. Any visitors that committee members would like to recognize? All right, not seeing any. No persons requested time on the agenda, so we'll move to the approval of the minutes for the committee as a whole meeting held on July 12th, 2018. Is there a motion? Mr. Derman moves. Mr. Derman moves, Mrs. Sealy seconds. Any comments or questions from board members, committee members regarding the minutes? Anything from the public? All right. We'll now open the floor for voting.
Mr. Howard?
Okay. and the minutes are adopted unanimously. All right, we'll move on to item 4A, School Resource Officer Update. Mr. Chabia.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. Board members, good evening. Before I get into the SROs, I want to address the mental health providers also. As you know, this board approved the hiring of a mental health provider for every one of our schools, which are 55. I'm happy to say, as of today at 5 minutes to 7, all of our mental health providers are on board. Yay. So we have one for every school. Worked very hard. I want to thank Amy Lemaine and my two people, Amy Hickman and Nataki Smith. They've been just worked tremendously hard this summer, as they do each and every summer. But we probably hit our highest I've known since I've been here, and I've been here a while. We hired about 300 new teachers this year, and it's been a challenge. But the mental health providers, I'm happy to say that we had 2 full-time MHPs, so we needed to hire 53 more. The majority of those, probably 65% of those, came from our part-time MHPs that we had on board. We also hired the other additional from new applicants. We had a couple of our school counselors that decided they wanted to go into the MHP, and they were certified and qualified, so they moved in. So all in all, we do have 55, and we're on board to go for next school year. Okay? The next thing is the SROs. You know, when I met with you and discussed this, and you approved the hiring of SROs, I told you that was not going to be a quick process. That's probably going to be 1.5 years to 2 years, because we had to work with all of the agencies, and they have to be trained, and we have to get somebody, you know, to get into the schools. Well, all I can tell you is that working with these different law enforcement agencies was really a pleasure, because it was very, very easy for us in one way, is that they were on board. Their number one goal was to put an SRO into every school. And they worked very hard with us. Some of them had, well, all of them had budget constraints, but some of them worked through those. But I'm happy to tell you that we're going to have an SRO or a uniformed police officer in every school when school opens Thursday. Now, there's a couple of exceptions that I'm going to review with you, and I'll try to go through this real quick. So Covenant Police Department had 2 full-time SROs with us at Covenant High School in Pitcher. The remaining 3 schools, Covenant Elementary, Lyon, and Pineview, they're going to be sharing an officer that's going to be going from school to school. And Chief Lentz has indicated that as resources come available, he's going to put on more detail officers. So hopefully in just a short time, we'll have an officer in every school. Madisonville Police Department had an SRO. Really was a DARE officer that shared as an SRO. They had a federal grant. That grant expired, but we were able to pick up that officer. They only have 1 school in their jurisdiction, and that's Madisonville Junior High, so we will have a full-time SRO there. Mandeville Police Department had 2 existing SROs, one at Mandeville High, one at Mandeville Junior High. The remaining 4 schools, Mandeville Elementary, Pontchartrain, Chafuncta, and Woodlake, will be covered by 2 detail officers sharing those schools. So 1 detail officer will share with Mandeville and Woodlake, and the other one will share with Chafuncta Middle and Pontchartrain. And of course, you're aware that Chafuncta Middle and Pontchartrain are on the same campus. So that's going to be easy walking back and forth from school to school. Pearl River Police Department had 1 existing SRO at Pearl River High School. We were not expecting, but we had talked about hoping to have 3 more. We've been informed by the police chief there that he's probably going to try to add 1 more and then 2 detail officers for the other schools. But we'll know that tomorrow. But there will be somebody in every school in the Pearl River area. St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office stepped up with 23 additional SROs full-time at every school in their jurisdiction, plus the 2 Folsom schools that they did not have the money in their budget to do it, and the sheriff picked up those 2 schools, Folsom Elementary and Folsom Junior High School. Again, the 2 existing one was already at Fountainblue High and Lakeshore, but now we have a total of 25. And Slidell Police Department had 6 existing SROs, Boyette, North Shore, St. Tammany, Salmon, Slidell High, and Slidell Junior. The remaining 8 schools will be covered by detail officers. We're going to have a couple of schools sharing. Abney Early Childhood and Abney Elementary are on the same campus, so we'll have one officer there. And Carolyn Park and Bayou Woods, they're very close in proximity. We'll have one officer there, but Chief Fandel has indicated that he's going to work real hard to try to get us another one so that Carolyn Park and Bayou Woods won't have to share. So hopefully that'll be coming on soon. So I'm very, very pleased to tell you tonight that Mike Kosei, Bob Donald, and myself have worked very hard. I couldn't have done it without those two. Meeting with those agencies 2 to 3 times each during the summer, negotiating and working with them and working out a deal to where our kids and our employees will feel more safe this school year than we've had before. So we should have everyone in place come opening day next Thursday. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Okay. I know, I see a couple of folks, so we'll go ahead and queue up the floor. But before I recognize Mr. Derman, Mr. Jabby, I want to say thank you to you and to Mr. Foltz and for the work y'all have done to do this. I mean, it goes without saying that the safety of our children is #1 priority for our and to assure our parents and our citizens that we're doing all we can. And so the expediency with which you all have been able to do this is absolutely amazing. But also, we would be remiss if we didn't thank our law enforcement.
Exactly.
But it's also the relationships you all have built, and of course, over the years with law enforcement and cultivating those relationships that probably got that. It was an easier process. I mean, easy process because of that. So, and we do want to thank the Sheriff's Department as well as all our municipalities for stepping up because they too recognize the urgency of this. And that's on that side, but also the mental health side is also great news because that's equally important, you know, to be able to support our parents and our students with quality mental health. And as Mr. Foltz said at the presentation, these will not be, I think if I remember right, Mr. Foltz said that they will not be putting up bulletin boards or something to that effect. These will be actual, you know, be actually doing mental health.
Working directly with the kids and the parents, yes, sir.
And their parents and mental health counseling, which is so desperately needed for so many of our kids. And with 38,000 students and nearly 40,000 students probably now, I mean, it's just even a fraction of that. It's a lot of souls that need to be touched. So, with that being said, I'd like to recognize Mr. Derman.
Mr. Derman, would you mind if I failed to say that the budget constraints with the SROs and the law enforcement agencies, you know, came about because the money that we have and that you approved is temporary funding. And so all of those agencies have committed that once we get permanent funding, they are 100% on board with full-time SROs in every school, and that's their goal, and that's our goal.
And I would like to say, and I'm sorry, Mr. Derman, I'll take before I relinquish the floor completely, is I could not agree more, and that I hope the public that's listening tonight, both in the audience as well as by Channel 13 later, you know, will hear that very clearly, that we need, and we know they will. We know the St. Tammany taxpayers will come to the aid of these students by helping us make this a permanent, you know, make this funding permanent, you know, protect our kids. So, all right, Mr. Derman, thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
No problem. That's exactly what point I was going to bring up, because most of these municipal departments, they also are tied into civil service, and then opening up a position and then having to lay somebody off because it's temporary funding versus permanent funding is something they can't really afford to do. Plus all of the training and everything else that goes into actually an SRO, because they receive a lot more training than just a typical patrol officer. So that's an expense for them to actually incur as well. So that was my point. But I think all of our law enforcement partners are more than willing to step up and help us in any capacity. And I think there, again, like Mr. Nation said, it's quite the relationship that has been built between, Mr. Folsom and all of our staff here and our principals, and a very big trust factor there that's been built over the years. So I think welcome, kudos for everybody, law enforcement as well as our administrators. And like I said, I do hope that the public realizes that this is going to require, a permanent funding stream in order to keep and protect our children. So not only protect them, but also with the mental health providers be in our schools to help with the prevention and be working on both sides of this problem. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. Mr. Kuzan.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. Mr. Jabby, I also understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that SROs will also be helping with details such as traffic and situations like that around the school?
They can help out a little bit in the mornings with traffic as much as possible. We do have crossing guards and that type of thing at the school, so, but yes, they can help in any way they can. They're there about 30 minutes before school starts and until 30 minutes after school ends.
Thank you.
Okay. The board says Mrs. Mullet, but I believe it's Mrs. Heinz.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. I appreciate that. I just wanted to comment that when I went online to do our Safe Schools training that Mr. Tillman puts up for us and every employee to do, that I saw that there was a brief training program that everyone had to read on SROs. And I thought that was excellent because it gave the chain of command of who they reported to. And that was a great idea, whoever came up with that, and I really appreciate that we had the opportunity to view that. Good job.
Thank you, Mrs. Heinz. All right, not seeing anyone else, and do remind all of us to do our Safe Schools training, because board members, we do that as well as our employees. We go along, and thank you, Dr. Tillman, for looks like we've got a bigger list this year, so.
Yes, indeed.
Or at least unless it was, I missed something from the past.
No, it's bigger. It's a bigger list.
That's right. So I bet even Mr. Foltz has to do.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, all right. We'll move on now to our item B, 4B, consideration of changes to the district handbook for students and parents. And we, again, return to Mr. Jabbia.
Thank you, Mr. Nation, board members again. With the passing of the cell phone policy, we had to make some corrections in the student handbook because in there we had possession of a cell phone was a violation. So we did some of that type of cleaning up and took those terms out. And we also had to address the consequences. And we had a proposal that we took to all of our principals at our summer conference this past week or so and went over with them. So we have the following changes to put into the handbook. And that is that the progressive consequences will be followed as outlined below. Use or related disruption will be a warning or an administrative detention. Then you would go from there to an administrative detention or a Saturday detention or an in-school suspension. And then you could go to Saturday detention or in-school suspension and or suspension. And then you go to suspension and or expulsion. And this was approved by all of our principals with 100%. We need for you to approve these changes in the handbook as you approve all changes so that we can get this out to the schools next week.
Okay.
And I need a recommendation on that.
All right. Who would like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll second it.
Mr. Womack moves to recommend acceptance of those changes, and Mrs. Seeley seconds. Any comments or questions from committee members, and we'll queue up and I'll Mrs. Bellisario, I'll recognize her first, all right?
There was nothing in our packet. Could we get this in writing?
Send it to all of you, yes.
Because it wasn't in board docs and it wasn't in a packet. and I really would prefer to see it in writing. I'm a visual learner. Thank you.
That was sent to everyone. Where's Christie? I know, but didn't you send it, didn't you? Oh, no, I'm sorry, Debbie, you did send this out, didn't you?
No, I had thought you said that you were gonna, send some, email to the board members and send that on your own.
Did anybody get this? And I apologize if you didn't.
No.
I thought it had been sent out. All I can do is say I'll get it out to you as soon as I can, and you can take your final vote on it next week.
Yeah, I still have the floor. I just would like a copy before next week, but I can't.
Well, I'll get you that.
Okay.
I'll
I
get you
can't
that.
vote for it tonight until I read it.
I understand.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions to the motion that's on the floor? All right. Any comments or questions from the public? All right. We'll open the floor for voting. She just voted. All right, motion carries 12 yeas, no nays, and 1 abstention. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jabbia.
Thank you. I apologize. I will get that out to you tomorrow.
No worries. All right, moving on to monthly maintenance and custodial report.
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams is here, and your packet is electronic there for you. He's here for any questions.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Williams? All right, monthly risk oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Science? Or Mrs. Mullet?
Just a quick comment. I know you've been very busy in the maintenance department, getting everything ready for school, and I just want to say that I appreciate that. It's a lot of work, and I really appreciate that.
I think he's going to give a speech, but
I was like, where are you going, Jimbo?
Mr. Williams, go to the podium.
I got the podium switch right here.
he said he wanted his 3 minutes.
We know
He
you're
was
a
getting
man of few
excited.
words, but the good thing is you're a man of action, and that's important.
Obviously, he was getting ready to, he got up and go to the podium immediately, so that shows he's ready to go. Thank you,
Awesome
Mr.
job as always.
Thank
yes.
you.
And,
All right.
Mr. Gaspard is here with the risk management report if you have any
All right.
questions.
And Mr. Alfonso, you can hold him down now if he gets up too quickly, you know.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Mr. Gaspard? Mr. Hittigan?
Thank you. Kirk, I wonder, if maybe at some future board meeting, you could give us kind of a trend report on where we're going with incidents over the last, say, 5 years. We've done that
We have that
previous years.
scheduled.
Oh, you do?
It's
Okay.
coming up later in the fall, okay?
Okay, that's good.
That's a yearly thing that we do for you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hennigan. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Gaspard? All right, our monthly transportation report.
Mr. Alfonso here, so you have any questions?
All right, Mr.
Got a report from him today.
That's
that
right, Mr.
buses are ready
Gaspard.
to
The same
roll.
goes for you now, with Mr. Alfonso. Hold him down. Anything for Mr. Alfonso? All right. Also, thank you to the transportation department, because the buses will be rolling pretty soon, so. And so the traffic and the traffic's not getting any lighter in St. Tammany Parish. So we do also want to remind the public, both those here and those that listen by Channel 13, please give our buses, full right of way, and it's, and so to speak. I mean, just be careful around our children, So, all right. Oh, Mrs. Seeley.
Thank you. I have a question. Approximately how many of the alternate bus drivers have been hired for the year?
What do you mean by alternate?
Well, I'm trying to think substitute, thank you.
Substitute drivers? Mr. Alfonso, you got a number on substitute drivers that we have?
We currently have about 45 substitute drivers.
Is that
Probably
what
one
you
of our-
usually start with, or are you on?
From 40 to 50, we lose some because of new hires, but then we have a class at the end of August to hire more. We have already 11 enrolled for the end of August to go through our training program.
And do you hire year-round for that position?
Yes, ma'am, we conduct 5 classes a year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, Mr. Loop.
I want to comment about the hotline for us, Steve, when it begins and what the effect of that is.
Mr. Loop, if you'll get your mic, hit your mic, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, Mr. Luke. The hotline began yesterday. It's pretty active and it's been pretty successful. And, you know, if you walk in the office like you have in the past, you'll see the phones are just nonstop and it's been pretty good. But the volume hadn't been as much so far because I think more parents are utilizing the Educ feature, the web query feature on our website.
The hotline is running till the 10th of August from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the number is 898-3373.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Mr. Loop. Anything else? While you're up there, remind us and remind the public how many buses are in the fleet and how many bus drivers do we have?
We have 376 drivers, it's a little over 80 special needs drivers. Total employees, you're looking at over 500 when you consider bus attendants.
Right. And how many buses in the fleet?
376.
376.
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Not seeing anything else for our transportation department. We'll move on now. Thank you, Mr. Jabbia, and we'll move on to Ms. Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. Our first item is that we recommend acceptance of pupil appraisal building as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submittal of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Folse, School Board Project Number 1512.
All right. Yeah. Mrs. Seeley moves, Mr. Kuzan seconds. Is there any comments or questions from committee members? Any comments or questions from the public? Not seeing any, we'll vote. Okay. And motion is carried unanimously. All right, item B.
We recommend acceptance of Covington High School site work renovations as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Folse, STPSB project number P0171.
Mrs. Heinz makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Loop. Any comments or questions from committee members? Any comments or questions from the public? We'll open the floor for voting. And motion carries unanimously. All right, item C.
We recommend acceptance of Madisonville Elementary School infrastructure for 4 modular classrooms as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Folse, STPSB project number P0187.
And okay, Mrs. Heinz? All right, Mrs. Mullet seconds. Any comments or questions from committee members? Any comments or questions from the public? Not seeing any, we'll open the floor for voting. And motion is carried unanimously. All right, item C, excuse me, item D, beg your pardon.
Yes, sir. The attachment to this agenda item is that we are recommending acceptance of the lowest responsive and responsible base bid, alternate number 1 and alternate number 2, submitted by Dennis Glass Construction LLC in the amount of $489,960 for the limestone parking lot extension at Mandeville High School, STPSB project number 1806. And this project is part of the larger project to do additions at Mandeville High School.
Okay. A motion by Mr. Hennigan, and I will second his motion. Any other comments or questions from committee members? And we'll start down here with Mr. Hennigan.
Yes, thank you. Are we talking about extending that limestone parking lot between the football field and the practice field? Is that?
No, sir, this is the property that we own to the south of Robert Dusang Drive, south of the campus. We did a limestone parking lot last year. This is an extension of that into all of the rest of the non-wetlands area.
Wow, good, okay.
So
Thank
it'll
you.
give us over 200 additional parking spaces. Correct, there is a practice field for soccer and other
Okay,
field
but it's,
sports.
yeah, I understand. That's better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hennigan. Mr. Bettencourt.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. Ms. Tipton, how big a area is that extension?
It'll be just over 200 extra parking spaces for the school, and that will give us some additional parking to offset the parking we expect to take for some temporary modulars that will need to be set up in the parking lot at the front of the school during construction.
And what needs to be done? That needs to be mucked out and clay put in and then the limestone, or is this hard ground?
This is a wooded area that'll need to be cleared, and then, yes, some fill will need to be changed out for structural fill, and then limestone put down.
Okay.
We'll also be putting a large box culvert in to a ditch that cuts across diagonally across the property.
So that bid amount, the winning bid, was in the area that you expected?
Yes, sir. Actually, it was under the architect's estimate of cost of about $560,000, so bids were very
Don't
good.
tell contractors that. Okay, thank you for the information.
Yes, sir.
6 bids too, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Which is good.
Any other questions or comments from committee members? Ms. Tipton, Dennis Glass Construction, where are they located?
They're in Folsom, and they have worked for us on other jobs. In fact, they actually did the practice field and parking lot that Mr. Javier referred to. They've also worked at Fountainblue High and Little Oak Middle School on paving and other parking projects.
Good. Well, they came in under the projection. Now let's hope they can do it and come in under budget. So, all right. Thank you, Ms. Tipton. Anything else for Ms. Tipton? All right, moving on to. Oh, sorry. Got to take a vote. I was getting excited. I was there. All right, we'll open the floor. Any comments, questions from the public? So we'll forget that. All right. Open the floor for voting. And motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you again, Ms. Tipton. Now your monthly construction report.
Yes, sir. Summer projects are mostly complete. Where they're not complete, they're wrapping up or being buttoned up in anticipation of school starting. Any remaining work will be coordinated to occur after school hours. Roofing at Abney Elementary, Carolyn Park Middle, Covington Elementary, Creekside Junior, Pineview Middle, Mandeville Elementary, Mandeville Junior, and Whispering Forest are substantially complete. Site improvements at Covington High, Mandeville High, North Shore High, Salmon High, and Slidell High are complete or near completion. Masonry repair and waterproofing for portions of Clearwood Junior High and Pontchartrain and Chafuncta is complete. The modulars and infrastructure at Madisonville Elementary are very nearly complete, and the staff has already set up their classrooms there. At Slidell High, the footings have been poured, and the contractor continues to work on foundations for the new kitchen. The slab for the girls' side's locker room has been poured, and the contractor is working on above slab plumbing. The exterior grading, sidewalks, and landscaping are scheduled and being done at Pupil Appraisal Building, and the final inspections are being scheduled. The renovations at Safe Haven for the RISE facility are progressing. The walls are being painted, electrical conduit is being run, and work in the restrooms is progressing. And the architects are working on developing the design documents for the additions at Madisonville Elementary and Mandeville High. And we did receive progress drawings for each of those projects this week and reviewed those with the architects.
Okay. Any questions or comments from committee members regarding the monthly construction report? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Tipton. And maybe at a future committee meeting at some point, and I think you do this every year, but just maybe give us an update on, or remind us of definitions like, what is the lowest responsible, base bid? I mean, just, and remind the public, just kind of give us a 101 tutorial in the bidding process. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mrs. Prevost.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. The monthly financial report for June is available on board docs, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions about the financials for Mrs. Prevost? Okay, not seeing any. Monthly purchasing report?
You also have the monthly purchasing report, and Ms. Stevens is here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for Mrs. Stevens? All right, not seeing any. Thank you, Mrs. Prevost. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. I have a few announcements tonight. There will be a special board meeting immediately following this board meeting for an expulsion appeal hearing. The board meeting will be, our board meeting will be next Thursday, August 9th at 7 p.m. in Slidell at the Brooks Educational Complex. A public hearing concerning input for the proposed budgets for the fiscal year 2018-2019 will be held on Thursday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. here in this chamber. And please, board members, please remember to check board docs, handouts for any meeting notices and other information, and that's at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. With no further business to come before the committee, declare this meeting adjourned, and we'll resume in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes.